Welcome to this explainer. Okay, today we're diving straight into a massive mystery. Why are our rich, traditional diets leaving so many of us, well, fundamentally malnourished? It's a biological phenomenon that scientists actually call the hidden hunger, and we're going to decode it right now.
So think about this modern paradox. Millions of South Asians look absolutely perfectly healthy on the outside, right? But on the inside, they're dealing with chronic fatigue and hidden metabolic issues. We've kind of been trained to equate being thin with being healthy. But man, the biological reality beneath the surface? It tells a completely different and, frankly, a much more alarming story. Get this. The ICMR India B study revealed a truly astonishing statistic. 43.3% of Indians who have a normal BMI are actually metabolically obese. Let that sink in. Almost half. That means they're loaded with visceral fat and insulin resistance, even though they look totally fit. Because we've been relying just on BMI, we've basically been ignoring these massive nutritional gaps that are fueling an internal health crisis.
So here's the absolute crucial takeaway. Just eating food does not automatically equal absorbing nutrients. Understanding a concept called bioavailability is literally the key to solving this hidden hunger. You know, you could be eating absolute mountains of healthy-looking food, but if your body can't actually unlock those nutrients, well, you're functionally starving on a cellular level. It's wild.
All right, let's look at culprit 1, the protein illusion.
We've really got to dismantle this deeply ingrained cultural myth that our traditional meals are automatically packed with protein. Let's take dal, for example. It's actually overwhelmingly complex carbohydrates, like about 85%, and it only has roughly 15% protein. Now, don't get me wrong, it's fantastic for your gut health, but it is far, far from the pure protein source we usually assume it is.
And here's the catch. Unlike animal sources, plant proteins like dal are missing some critical amino acid puzzle pieces. See, your body needs 9 essential amino acids that it just can't produce on its own. While animal proteins give you the whole package, all 9, individual plant proteins are incomplete. This means your body literally cannot effectively use them to rebuild tissue without some extra help.
And we desperately need this complete protein for a pretty surprising reason. Did you know that when you do resistance training, your muscles actually act like an internal pharmacy? They dispense these amazing health-boosting molecules called myokines. We usually just think of muscles for, lifting heavy things, but they are actually your body's most powerful biochemical engine.
Now, without enough protein to build and maintain those muscles, that internal pharmacy, it permanently shuts its doors. You lose those incredible myokine prescriptions, the ones that literally travel up to protect your brain, the ones that clear out your blood sugar, and the ones that strengthen your bones. Losing them leads directly to those metabolic diseases we were just talking about.
Moving right along to culprit 2, the vitamin B12 blind spot. So vitamin B12 is this incredibly complex molecule centered around a rare metal called cobalt, which is literally forged in dying stars. Yet shockingly, almost half of the Indian population, 47%, is entirely deficient in it. And if you add in the borderline cases, that number skyrockets to 74%. We are looking at a massive, population-wide biological blind spot here.
This is a huge deal because B12 is absolutely critical for maintaining your nervous system and synthesizing DNA. But here's the really tricky part. Because your liver stores B12 for up to 5 years, you won't even notice the symptoms of this severe neurological and physical fatigue until the damage is well underway and your reserves are completely tapped out.
So why is this deficiency so common? Well, making B12 is incredibly complex. Over millions of years, animals basically evolved to just consume it, while plants went down a completely different biological pathway, one that ignores B12 entirely. So, the hard truth is, it simply does not exist in the plant kingdom.
And this perfectly explains why a cow can happily survive eating grass, but we definitely cannot. Cows have these special symbiotic bacteria right in their stomachs that make B12 for them to absorb. Our human biology, sure, we have B12-producing bacteria too, but they're located way down in our colon, which is unfortunately way past the point where our bodies can actually absorb the vitamin.
Which brings us to our final suspect. Culprit 3, the iron illusion.
Iron acts as the vital transport system for oxygen in our blood, a system that is, frankly, failing in a largely anemic population. Here's the breakdown. Our bodies effortlessly absorb heme iron from meat, but we struggle massively to absorb the non-heme iron that's found in our traditional vegetarian diets.
Think of it this way. Plants have absolutely no interest in feeding you iron. Because they don't have blood, free oxygen actually damages plant cells. So, to protect themselves, they produce these specific compounds, like phytates, to lock the iron away in a sort of biological vault. When you eat the plant, those compounds actively block your digestion from accessing the iron. Wild, right?
Okay, so what do we do about all this? Let's talk solutions. The antidote: hacking your diet's bioavailability. Now that we've identified our 3 culprits, let's hack your grandmother's plate for maximum bioavailability. To fix the protein illusion, you've got to combine those incomplete plant proteins like your dal and rice to form a complete amino acid profile. And then add a strong protein anchor, things like paneer, tofu, eggs, or even whey supplements, just to make sure you're actually hitting that daily target.
Next, to unlock that stubborn, non-heme iron in your plants, you basically need chemical keys. It's super simple. Add some vitamin C. Just a quick squeeze of lemon or amla on your spinach, or make sure you cook with sulfur-rich onions and garlic. Oh, and always pressure cook your lentils. The high heat under pressure actively destroys those pesky phytates that are blocking your absorption.
Now, you also have to actively avoid some common dietary mistakes. For instance, definitely do not drink tea right after a meal. The tannins in the tea act like a vault, completely locking away the iron you just ate. Also, avoid eating calcium-rich dairy right alongside your iron-rich greens, because they literally compete against each other for absorption in your body.
As for that B12 blind spot, rely heavily on dairy, or maybe consider occasional seafood or meat if that fits your lifestyle. But hey, if you are strictly vegan, you really just have to accept the biological reality here. Taking reliable, science-backed supplements is your absolute best and only option to prevent that severe neurological fatigue.
Look, our traditional meals are deeply comforting and they're so rich in history. But we have to remember, they were designed for heavily active agricultural laborers who were burning thousands of calories a day out in the fields, not for modern desk workers like us. By simply adjusting our portion sizes and upgrading that bioavailability, we can totally keep the cultural joy of our food while fixing the hidden malnutrition.
And that brings us to the crucial takeaway of this whole explainer, perfectly summed up in this quote: "Culture dictates what we eat, but biology dictates what we absorb." You can absolutely respect and enjoy your cultural food traditions while still stepping up to act as the informed executive manager of your own biology. So armed with the science of bioavailability, the secrets of your muscle pharmacy, and the origins of your nutrients, the power is completely in your hands. I leave you with this final thought. How will you upgrade the biology of your next meal? Thanks so much for tuning in to this explainer, and keep asking the right questions about what's on your plate.